Okay. Okay. Um, get chat up on my phone. Um, is anybody in listening to my audio?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I am speaking.
Do I sound like utter garbage?
Okay, I'm comparing. Asher, can you speak?
Yes, this is me talking. Test, test, test. Normal volume.
And Bronwyn?
Hey, what's up? How you doing? I once again forgot to grab my dice and had to go walk over and grab them.
Ben, I think you are a bit quiet.
I'm quiet. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, just a little.
Okay. I turned myself up a good bit. I don't know. Is that better?
Probably a little more.
A little more? Okay. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna max it out then because I was very close to maxed out. Hello, hello. Is this
Good.
anybody? Is good? Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I probably balanced y'all to be even with me when my mic was maxed volume, and then for some reason fiddled with it. Okay, so technical prep done. Let's go ahead and jump into our recap from last session. I believe the description I put on the YouTube video is that Call follows a child um, and then hits Ren, and then Ren goes to the library.
This makes call sound so goddamn sus.
It really does. um, but yeah, okay.
You forgot Ren goes to the library, goes to the restricted section, gets caught red-handed, goes to Barnabas, gets shamed, and then taught how to go to the restricted section, and then is on his way back.
I just realized I said to Asher before anybody else was in the voice channel. I was like, man, we haven't put any quotes in our little quotes channel in a while. And I just realized we didn't put "they're new" in the quotes channel.
Oh my god, well, we're adding it now.
Yeah. Somebody do that.
I'm doing it now.
Who's this little mushroom man? Okay. Um, I just opened gameplay side chat and saw the little Minotaur child, and
Oh
I am
no.
being thrown off.
So
So
cute.
a bit more of an in-depth recap. Call followed the small tiefling girl that y'all had seen before your fight with the undead. Um, Call followed her for a while, staying pretty unnoticed for a while, and then a nat 20 versus a nat 1 led to Call just rounding the corner and basically bumping into this child. After a short conversation, um, the tiefling was playing with a little toy and then separated the two pieces of the toy, and yes, it was a nat 20 that Call lost. um, uh, Separated the toy and then told Call that they should get moving. Call was followed by a couple different people, um, and then finally made it back to the rest of the party. Gave Ren a nice little slap because Ren, uh, uh, in the past, has yelled at Call for not uh, protecting their own life, and then Ren ran away from three people in combat
It
range
was
at the
two.
same time. It was three.
It was
It
it
was
was
It
three.
was
both
two
shit.
ghosts and a wisp.
You are right.
I
Without
know because I rolled
engaging.
3 hits. um, and got knocked unconscious in a space of twice in the space of 1 second. Um, so there was a bit of edgy bitterness afterwards as the party went back to Ren's room to discuss what had happened. Call left and went to the barracks. Henry and Ren hung out for a little while longer and then went to the library where Henry spent some time with Oren, and Ren decided to just walk into the restricted section, asking no one and telling no one. Made it pretty far, got in a little bit of research, grabbed a book, felt a magical effect not take hold, and then grabbed another book, took a little bit of damage, and also was being tracked by a spell somewhat similar to Mind Spike. The world was introduced to Praetor Paramount Tara as an actual character and not just a person that they keep seeing in hallways. As she confronted Ren in the restricted section. I still didn't say it right. Restricted section. Ren tried to play innocent, but before he could even try to play innocent, Praetor Paramount Tara had sent a message to Barnabas asking if he was allowed in the restricted section. Barnabas apparently said that Ren had not been given permission, so Praetor Paramount Tara marched him to the door and sent him off to his
Principal's office.
to the principal's office, who's also your direct teacher.
Yes.
Short conversation later, Ren now has access to the restricted section of the library, as well as a list of recommendations of books to study for the topic he was researching. I believe that is where we left off. Which, if I did my math correctly, that puts us at about 3 p.m. And I believe Ren was headed back to the restricted section when we ended last time.
Yes, he was. Are we picking up there?
Yes. First, I'm just gonna get a checkup on where everyone is. So Call went to the barracks. Is there anything specific that they're trying to do?
Call is not in a good mood right now, so they're probably just gonna go take a nap.
All
And
right.
they also have had a really rough morning with the combat session before following the girl.
It, yeah, considering this is still the same day and everybody got hurt, that's totally fair. And Henry was talking to Orin. Is there anything? Were you just going to keep talking to Orin, or was there anything you were looking to research while in the library?
I think Henry's gonna research blood hunters while in the library.
Okay. We'll hold on to that. I am just going to go ahead and we'll jump back to Ren, returning to the restricted section.
Okay, he's gonna go look for the books that Barnabas wrote down on the list for him,
Okay.
starting with the one that he last saw.
Yes. Okay. So, I don't know why I didn't put my notes together for this, but it's in two separate places for me, so give me just a moment. Yes. So, last session you did find a book that had some maps on the plains. There's not a whole lot of information there other than just the maps. So if you want to look in you have a Dungeon Master Guide, right?
Yes.
Okay. So
Can I go grab it, or?
Yeah, if you want to go grab it, you can. I will find out exactly the page number to tell you and you can look at the exact map that you have access to.
I think I have one here. We'll see.
Check out that blanket, yo. Do y'all see that? It looks
Oh,
handmade.
you see that blanket? What do you think about that blanket?
What? That is the most beautiful blanket I've ever seen. Like, my favorite blanket before was this beautiful yellow blanket, yellow ombre blanket that was made for Addie. But that's my new favorite blanket. It's freaking beautiful.
Thanks.
I guess, kind of, sort of, technically, this stream is sponsored by Bronwyn McNully.
I think her name is Bronwyn Robna McNulty, Ben. I think you
Thanks for the correction.
missed out on that.
So, no book?
We have literally everything else. But if it's like an item, I can probably just look it up.
So it's not an item.
Okay.
It's just a map that is drawn in the DMG on page 57.
Nice.
It's this one.
Oh, fuck yeah, I've seen that one before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the only thing is that little tiny circle in the middle that is material plane, out of character. It is the Forgotten Realms. Is that map is, and some of the countries are labeled. One of which being Faerun. In character, you have no fucking clue. You don't know any of those things. Like, you know that Faerun is the elven-led country to the east, but you have no idea about the Forgotten Realms.
Have they been forgotten?
Nobody in Terravita ever knew about them.
But
They also have provided us the pantheon that Terravita worships. For the most part, there's a few that are. I've been adding some, and I'm going to be making up some in the future. Anyway, so that was one of the books that you saw last time. Now that you know the little hand motion cantrip spell to disengage the wards placed on the books, you can open that back up and look at that map again. The next book, the one that you were caught looking at, is a book titled The Planes and How They Interact. How long are you planning on spending researching?
Honestly, maybe like up to an hour, maybe half an hour.
Okay. In that case, I will have you roll me an investigation check.
And my dice are all the way over there.
Because you can't read 4 books in 1 hour. Because you're
I can't
not Orin.
read. A key investigation. Did y'all see my little Ren figure?
Ooh. He's a nice boy.
There we go.
I love him.
That was a 6.
Okay. In that case, I am going to give you the titles of the books that are of interest to you. So you saw the book called The Planes and How They Interact. That was the one that you were caught and you didn't really get any time to look through it. Barnabas's List has 3 titles on it. One is titled The City of Brass, which from your time looking at the map, you know that and also the second book, The Fountains of Creation, are both locations listed on that map. They are both in the Plane of Fire. But those were 2 of the things that he suggested to you. And then a third book called The Feyan Wars. Or sorry, the 4th book called The Feyan Wars.
Would you terribly mind typing that for me?
The title?
Yeah. Nice. Thank you.
So, um, with a 6 and an hour, which of those four would you like to look into first?
The Feyan Wars.
Okay. So I'm basing this more off of time rather than like it's. Blah, 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 blah. I am limiting your information because you did get a low roll, and you also are only spending an hour doing this. Uh, we're gonna say you're only able to get through this one book um, in that shorter period of time. But I will. There's not like a DC of getting more out of this book. Is what I'm trying to express. So uh, after reading through this book, kind of skimming through it, not absorbing every word, but you learn that Shadowfell and the Feywild are at war. Um, uh, it is a conflict between the Seelie and the Unseelie um, that has been going for a long time. The book that you find um, is dated 1263, which is 115 years prior to the campaign. Um, and bits of the book seem somewhat paranoid. Um, the information is somewhat concise, uh, but it is the author of this book often writes about how there are spies from both planes attempting to infiltrate the worlds of men, or the planes, the material plane, um, and that they are constantly trying to seek leverage within the material plane in order to gain an upper hand in this war. Um, the man also, which there is no author name listed in this book, and in a couple of different passages, he laments that he has no name um, because it was lost or taken from him. And that his memory is running away from him. That's the phrase used. My memory is running away from me. More than once appears in the book. Um, there isn't much on the actual parties, the Seelie and the Unseelie. It is more. The book is more of a warning that uh, both sides are trying to gain a grip on the material plane to leverage against the other side. And that's what you get from the Feyan Wars.
Oh, okay. Ren's gonna be satisfied with that for now and head back out and see how Henry's doing.
It was the Shadowfell, and what was the other plane?
The Feywild.
Feywild. Thank you. That makes sense.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. Would we know that Shadowfell would be Unseelie and Feywild the Seelie? Or do we not know that?
You can make a. Ooh. What check would that be? Nature check? You can make a nature check.
When determining your DC, remember who Henry knows and where Henry has been.
Yeah, go ahead. Nature check. I think it would be a nature check.
I'm gonna use Bennett's die for this. That's a 9, my guy.
Um, I will point out that Henry was not involved in this research, and doesn't know anything about it yet. But just I will say outside of this, as far as just things that Henry knows that there are Unseelie and Seelie Fae. Doesn't know where either of them are from.
How do you spell Seelie, Unseelie?
Seelie.
Thank you, Bronwyn.
Nerd.
And it's just
Fuck off.
I know
And
how to
then-
spell it too, so I can't
Shut
say anything.
yeah. By the way, when looking at that page in the DMG, page 57, do not read anything around it.
Okay. Okay,
That-
I'm satisfied. I will not do that.
That shit be spoilerin'.
Nice.
Not all exactly, but I had certainly pulled a lot from there, so be careful. Excuse me. Yeah, Henry, give me an investigation check. Reading up on blood hunters.
That's a nat 20.
All right. So first of all, it's easy enough to find a few tomes that are referencing the blood hunters. They, as with a lot of the things that y'all have found in this library, feel a little bit like propaganda. They're but they do speak highly of the blood hunters. Um, However, they often also refer to Count Ander, not Count Ander. That's too fresh. But Count Store, and in one of them you even find Count Arthur, um, like directing the blood hunters, and it's kind of like it gives a lot of the credit to the Count as far as directing the blood hunters and where to go spill blood. Um, but it does often speak highly of the blood hunters in all of these books that feel a little bit propaganda-y. The Order of the Lycan is never mentioned. The different orders of the blood hunters are mentioned, but they're rarely named, and they never mention the Order of the Lycan. However, you rolled a nat fucking 20, so behind a book that isn't even related to blood hunters, you find a red leather bound book that has no title, but at the bottom, in kind of this severe handwriting, but of gold script, it says Varric Garrus, in the place that you would assume is the author's name. Within it again doesn't go too deep into the inner workings of the blood hunters, and it could have used some creative guidelines in writing this book. It doesn't really read like much of a story. It is more lists of events and monsters slain. It lists a few different names. You do recognize Kaz Thorn, as he is a person you have met. It once again does not mention the Order of the Lycan, but it does mention something about hybrid form when discussing Kaz Thorn. There is next to none, if absolutely none, mention of any count in this book. It is purely the acts and monsters slain by different members of the Blood Hunters. seems to be a little old, probably 10, 15-ish years old. Like, it's not a super new book. Um, uh, there is brief mention of the keep existing prior to the city, um, or prior to, like, before the expansion of Storgard. It lists just it does not name the town, but it does mention a town nearby the keep that the keep is not a part of. Um, or was not a part of it because it was referencing it historically. Um, uh, Aside from that, there is one other thing. Give me a second. Uh, um, it does mention the sacrifice that blood hunters um, go through in order to become what they are. Um, Mentioning that they become more alike what they seek to destroy. Um, and there is also a kind of a short-ish passage at the end uh, talking about the dangers of blood magics, and the importance of keeping their secrets secret. And that's what you get.
Can I ask? So it talks about the monster slain. What types of monsters are they? Like, are they monsters like Null? Are they monsters like kobolds? Or um are they monsters that are people? Or are they
Um,
actual monsters? I guess is my question.
they do not. There's not no mention of sentient beings, but it is extraordinarily small. Like, of sentient beings, it is an extraordinarily short list.
Um Is there, what does Henry take away from it that is like insight into what's important to them besides, hunting monsters? But like I'm just gonna say Henry's gonna go visit the Bloodhunter Keep. So what are there any is there any new information or any like mottos or driving
Um,
forces that Henry read in there that would be helpful for him to know and kind of use?
I'll say with a nat 20, you notice that they are very vague about the processes of becoming a blood hunter. And whenever they go into any of that type of thing, it is mentioned that these are secrets that must be protected. Um, so they highly value the privacy of their order, um, and they know the dangers that secrets they hold would pose if they were to get out.
So main ideas, killing monsters, keeping secrets.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay. Oh, and blood magic is scary and dangerous.
That's kind of the keeping secrets bit, though. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I think with that, Henry is tired and is gonna get some maybe early dinner and then probably go back to his room.
All right. Um, I will say that Ren probably comes out of the restricted section before you are done reading. So, is there anything that would happen there?
Ren will just, check in on Henry and check in on Orin. I think he'll talk to Orin for a while and see how he's doing, but, just generally a winding down kind of thing if that's the mood of the day here.
Is there anything in particular you wanted to talk to Orin about, or just like catching up?
Catching up and checking in, like if there's
Okay.
anything particular Orin has to talk about.
He has no concerns to report, and I believe last session basically the same thing happened with Henry, where he just talked about how he had been in a lesson with Galdanis and it went well. Yes.
When Henry sees Ren next, like when he comes out, I think he wants to ask Ren something. Um, so when Ren comes up, can I make a perception check to see who is around, if anybody could be listening in?
Absolutely.
Um, can Ren give me the help action?
If Ren notices that Henry's trying to do something, but I also think our DM said that you're supposed to call help action before you roll.
Well, I haven't rolled yet. That's why I
Okay.
was about to
Okay.
roll, and
Yeah,
I was
go
like,
ahead.
Cool.
Go ahead.
yeah.
Go
Okay.
ahead. You can have help.
I was about to roll, and I was like, I just rolled 2 11s in a row. Um, okay, let's see. Plus, that's a 13 perception.
Really?
Yeah, just +2. It's wisdom based, and I don't have proficiency.
Oh, okay. Um. uh. You are in the library mid or I guess late afternoon now. So I mean there are people in the library, but also and these people are also keeping quiet. So I mean it's kind of the like if you whisper, there's nobody really paying attention to you.
Okay. Okay. So I think when Henry's gonna like beckon Ren like close and is gonna kind of like whisper in his ear, like, um, he's gonna say, the poison that was on the bolts from the people who were trying to rescue Vist had a poison that was, typically it's made from any kind of snake venom. It could be any kind, and the type of snake venom is will affect a lot of things about the poison, like its potency and blah 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 blah. Um, but Warren ran some fancy chemical tests, alchemical tests, I guess, and he has no idea what snake venom it could be, and he read like a bunch of snake books, and he still couldn't figure out which one it is. So I'm wondering, could it possibly be yuan T venom? And I know that um, Kenda, what's Kenda's title?
High
Um,
power.
Thank you. High Power Kenda had the body at least at some point. Do you know if it would be possible to get a sample of Vist's venom so that we could test to see if it's what was used for the poison on the bolt?
Can Ren also do a perception check? Just his own kind of, okay,
Sure, go ahead.
okay.
Can I give the help action?
Too late. That's an 8.
Okay.
Ren is just going to kind of briefly say, and he's also kind of, Ren is doing a very, I think he's mellowed out for the day, and he's kind of falling back into his, okay, it's time to be paranoid kind of thing. And so he's just going to look, pleasantly interested while Henry's talking, and then he's going to like just keep up that kind of attitude and just quickly tell him the body would have been burned.
Mm.
So
Okay. And there's no way that anybody kept a sample of anything, you don't think?
it's yes. Yes, Ben, actually. Ren has mellowed out, so he's getting paranoid.
Ren is getting back to normal,
No, when
and
he's
getting back
high
to normal
keyed,
is
he gets
paranoid.
reckless. Yeah. No, when
Yeah.
he's like keyed up and stressed, he gets reckless. I noticed that about him recently. But yeah, so he's his good old paranoid, depressed self again. But yeah, he's this body would have been burned, so I can see if I can find anything. Um, I'll look into it. No promises, though.
Okay. Yeah, I knew it was a long shot, but I knew that you would have the best chance of finding out. Um, Also, I'm gonna go talk to Trent and Joel's tomorrow, or whatever their Lady and Lord Hart, um, to ask about what we were talking about as a group before, of like just finding out more about um this. Was there anything that you wanted to ask me to ask?
Well, damn. Jenny remembers having something like this conversation and us wanting to know something from the hearts. Oh, nope. Okay, yeah, that was it. Um, Ren is just gonna say anything about the warehouse. Like he's keeping his answers pretty short right now, too. Um, but be careful.
I will. All right. I think Henry's gonna tell Ren that he's gonna keep like reading, but he's probably gonna go to bed after. Um, do you want to meet up for lunch tomorrow?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. I think Henry gives Ren like a hand squeeze of like, I care about you.
Hand squeeze.
Oh,
Okay. So, is there anything anybody wants to get done today? I would say at this point we're late afternoon, getting it to the 5 p.m. range. But you
If
can
no,
just hang out for the rest of the day. Like,
if nobody else has anything, Ren has something.
call.
Um, Call does want to go to a like either Flanagan's or some other equivalent in the marketplace at some point.
Alrighty. Um. Okay. Let's go with Ren. And while we're doing that, I'm gonna look something up. So, go ahead.
Okay. Ren is gonna go back up to his room, and he had, when he left for the whole mission and everything, he had put the ring in the lead drawer in his desk, because he was scared. So he's going to take it out of the lead drawer and sit at his desk and put it on and immediately say, "I'm so sorry."
Um, you are used to, as of recently, when you put the ring on, hearing some ambient noise, some bubbles, fire crackling, like the tinkling of an alchemical set. Um, like there's usually some sound happening. Um, there, upon putting on the ring, some of your thoughts even are suppressed slightly to reflect how quiet it suddenly is. Um, it is the silence of holding your breath while someone is searching for you. Um, and just after a few seconds of that silence, you feel from two angles at the same time. From one side, you feel an intense burning rage and a just the utmost fear. Um, and it feels as if those two feelings are chasing each other. Um, there is no voice in response.
Ren is going to sit with it for a long time.
Okay. Um, let me check something. Um, I just to point out, neither of those feelings seem to have anything to do with you. Like there's no it is not fear of you. It is not anger at you. Um, if anything, uh, the anger seems to be mad about the fear, and the fear seems to be afraid of the anger. Um, uh, how long would you sit with it?
Um, Honestly, as long as it took to hear any kind of change, I think after like maybe after like 10 minutes, he would try again and ask hello.
Um, would you repeat that cycle for a while?
Yes.
Okay. Um, it takes a while, like an hour and a half to 2 hours. Um, before the anger seems to go off in search of something. Um, uh, it's it's weird because there's no um, there is no frame of reference for you to know where either of them are, but you can feel them searching and hiding, respectively. Uh, the best give me an insight check, yeah, first actually.
Yeah, that's still 5.
Yeah. Um, I mean, your best guess is that the fear hid well enough that the anger went looking for it somewhere else. Um, and then uh, you hear uh, you hear the shadow tree.
Yeah, Ren was going to sit with it like as long as he could, and no, he just has to take it off again. Um, so he'll leave it on the desk for now.
Okay. Um, anything else, or was that it?
I think he's gonna go to bed.
Okay. So call. You're heading to Flanagan's, or what are you looking for?
Call is looking for anything that can help boost either their AC or help their health because dropping down to 3 in one go terrified them.
Okay. Um. Uh. So. Okay. So Flanagan's first.
Flanagan's first.
Okay. Um, as you enter, Flanagan is there, kind of just organizing some bottles on shelves. He turns around and seems a little confused that you're here by yourself. Um, and just approaches his um, little counter. My gosh, that that just ran away. And the familiar sight of him walking behind the counter and then rising up to actually be seen behind the counter. Um, and he says, yes, what can I get you?
Hi, I am looking to see if you have any recommendations for something that will either make me harder to hit or harder to knock down.
He furrows his brow and thinks for a moment. Just do a quick look at your character sheet to remember things. Um, yeah, okay. So he does just look you over for a bit. He's like, well, I don't know if I have anything that could make you any harder to hit than you have made yourself on your own. Um, I have some items that would make you a little bit faster, but honestly, from the looks of it, I think you're already to the point I could get you. Um, he I, I he says I'm not much on the armor side of things. I have been known to enchant from time to time, uh, and I know there is um, I know there are certain enchantments that just increase the protection of certain items. So if you could bring me a set of armor, I mean I see you're wearing leathers already. Um, if you could leave that with me for he pulls open a little book and checks a ledger. Yeah, if you could leave a full set of armor with me for about 2 or 3 weeks, I could enchant it. Um, Let me double check pricing. I believe that +1 armor costs. Okay, +1 armor is rare, and creating a rare item, I believe, is like 2,000 gold would be the cost. Let me double check that though.
What spell is it that is would be used to level
Uh,
up the armor?
oh, it is based on the level of spell, isn't it?
When I was reading up on enchanting items, it was you have to like cast the spell every day for a month or something like that. And so, like if you wanted to make an item that could, do Mind Spike, you'd have to cast Mind Spike on it every day, that kind of thing. So, if it's something that Henry could do, then I mean,
um, One sec.
Henry or Ren, I should say. Or Orin. I guess Orin's busy.
Google help me. Okay. Yes.
What about armor with Cure Wounds or Bless? That'd be pretty cool, right? I'm excited. I'm sorry. I'll go on mute.
Um,
I'm sorry.
for it doesn't make much sense to me for armor to have that ability. You could certainly enchant an item to do that, but I don't quite get how. Like, I mean, I suppose you could like enchant a breastplate with the ability to cast the thing, but it would still cost you the action. It wouldn't like. I personally, I think it would be better to enchant the armor with a +1 protection, and then have another item um, that does not require attunement that can cast a healing spell. However, yeah. So a +1 armor. The enchant. He's gonna say the enchantment is 1,250. Um, Going out and finding an already enchanted new set of armor would be 1,500, but having him enchant it would cost you 1,250.
Call is going to thank Flanagan and say that they're going to mull that over and may come back later.
Um, he also points out, like, I mean, I got plenty of healing potions, and I mean that's one way of doing it, but I understand if I don't have exactly what you're looking for.
I appreciate it.
All right. So where do you plan on heading next?
Um,
Or like, what type of store would you be looking for? And I'll tell you if you find something along the lines.
Call, I think, is more specifically looking for like something that they could wear, maybe like just an enchanted item that could help, or anything like that. So they might be looking, if not at an armory, but then maybe someplace that specializes in just like magical items.
Okay. Um,
They're kind of concerned about the idea of doing an armory because they're worried that that's going to impact their maneuverability.
yes. It would.
So,
All right.
Call's mostly going to try focusing on magical items.
Okay.
If you want, if you want Call to come back to this later and not find anything today, that's also fine.
Um, Here's what I'll say. I'll make this more easy. So I see the list you sent me. Um, the price range in the DMG for those types of item is going to be 2,500 to 10,000 gold.
Cool.
Uh,
I literally just sent an immediate Google result. This is not like stuff I've been doing in
yeah.
advance.
I realize now, like the second you brought it up, I was like, that was one of the things I was supposed to do, and totally forgot.
Okay, I was like,
If
I
you
did
want to
warn
give me
you.
some, we'll go with the you find nothing today. I will do some work and try to find something that will give that will. I will either try to find an item or make an item that would give you a benefit. Um, but if it is of rare quality, like it's kind of the lowest price you're going to find is 2K.
Sounds good.
Um, but finding loot is another story. Um, but we'll get there when we get there. So, I take it that is going to be the end of day for us.
Yep.
Sending.
Yes?
Sending.
Okay, did you already?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, okay. And now I get to sit here and think about things. Um,
To be fair, I did send this to you a month ago.
To be fair, that was a month ago, and I didn't come up with a reply immediately. Um, uh, nice. Okay, there's sending taken care of. You all go to sleep. Um, Nothing happens in the night. Um, you are all safely in your beds. And you wake in the morning. I know Henry has morning plans for a visit to the Hearts. So let's start with that. It's 25 word messages. There's not much more that you can get.
No, I'm crying. The second sentence is really cute. Okay. Okay. Henry goes and picks up pastries. He gets a bunch of the ones that Trent likes, the cinnamon ones. And he gets one of every kind that he's ever seen Chels eat. Maybe not one of every kind, but like he knows which one she's had. He gets the ones that she likes. Um, and goes to their house.
All right. Uh, okay, give me a perception check.
That one. You're going back in the jar.
Henry is heavily contemplating what he is going to say.
I don't know what I'm gonna say. No, okay. I think Henry steps out of the keep and he's on his way to go pick up pastries. And he's like, what am I even gonna ask them? And so he drops by the Dozens barracks to ask Call if Call has anything to ask, because he had already asked Ren the day before. And he knows that Call is going to be awake at this hour because
It's Call.
it's Call.
Call is returning from their morning jog.
Yeah.
Uh,
Call has already gotten ready from being on their morning jog and
uh,
is refreshed.
by the way, make sure everybody takes a long rest on D&D
Oh,
Beyond.
yeah, right.
Thank
Um,
God.
Yeah. Fucking finally.
you
Long
all,
rest, right?
yes. Honestly, most of you get more than a long rest, considering how early y'all turned in.
Do we get a long rest and a short rest?
For all the benefit it gives you.
Yay.
Okay. So, oh, oh no, not okay. There's something that Henry wants to do at the Dozens barracks, but not right now. Um, but he does go and he like knocks on the door of the Dozens barracks. This is
Um,
probably like 7:30 a.m.
I'm gonna say, oh shoot, who's there? Uh, Call upon hearing the knock at the door. Also hears Jax grumbling, because Jax has been sleeping in, you know, being lucked out without having to go to PT. Um, but Andy is actually going to be the one who answers the door, given that he bunks right next to it. Um, so he opens the door, sees Henry, and with no discernible expression, just steps aside and lets him in.
Uh, Henry says good morning and does a little bow. Um, and I think his natural inclination would be to compliment something about Andy. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. And
Okay.
then heads over to call.
He Andy does not respond with words, but gives a very pleasant nod that could almost be a bow as he allows you through the door.
So I guess Henry goes over to call.
Um, Call is at this point writing something down on a sheet of paper and stops when they see the door open. So they just go ahead and put it aside to greet Henry. Um, so they go ahead and give him a hug and all that nonsense, and are like, "Hey, what are you doing here? What's up?"
Um, I am on my way to the Hearts to um talk about what we planned. Man, it feels like forever ago at this point. And I had already asked Ren if he had any questions, but I was wondering if there was anything that you wanted me to ask.
At this point, Bronwyn has already forgotten what we planned.
Uh, it's so since the only things that we have been researching are the light hands, and we don't even know if they're actually connected to Vist, our thought was to do more research on Vist himself. And what we were going to start with was talking to Chels and Trent to find out um, like where Vist was found. We knew it was in a warehouse, and we know what number it was because we got that from the captain of the guard, Ryan. But we don't know like, and I guess we also know what items he had on him, but we don't know anything else about him. So we're going to see if the Hearts had more info that we could go off of for our investigation.
Yes. Okay. So Call's gonna think about it for a long moment. Um, and then they're going to say, I think I would like more information on how they identified Vist as a suspect, um, and on any kind of both tracking information that they have on him before they captured him and anything he might have said to them or shouted at them while they were bringing him forward. Any information like that could be useful. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know which one would be more useful. Frankly, I'm not sure. I trust them to be entirely straightforward with how how they acquired him as a subject, as a suspect, but anything that we can get on that front would be helpful.
Okay. Those are all good. All right. I think Henry asks all, or tells Call. I asked Ren if he wanted to go to lunch today, and that offer extends to you. Do you want to meet in the courtyard around lunchtime?
Sure. Yeah, that works for me.
All right, great. Well, I probably need to get going so that I'm not late, but I'll catch you later, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, so Henry makes his Nat 1 walk to the
Mm-hmm.
pastry shop and then to Hard House.
Very focused on remembering what he's going to ask. Um,
Yeah, right.
And uh, all right, so you approach the door to the Heart's Abode.
When he gets there, he's gonna specifically look around for Trent. Would that be a separate perception roll or no? No? Okay.
Um, yeah, I know that that is something that Henry often does, is he looks for Trent as he approaches.
Mhm.
But even as you move to do so, you find yourself caught still thinking about what you're planning to do because this is your first meeting with them since the last one didn't go well. Um, and you're just a little distracted by what you're planning on doing. So when you knock on the door, you have not spotted Trent anywhere around. You
Sorry,
do.
wait. Before, okay, go ahead.
No, no, go ahead.
I feel like I am not mentally prepared for this.
Okay.
Go ahead and say what you were gonna say. I'm trying to get into the right headspace for this
Okay.
conversation.
Um, you do actually wait at the door for a little while, which is somewhat uncommon, especially on days that you have brought breakfast. Typically, they open the door like as you go to knock.
Mhm.
That does not happen. Instead, you wait there for 30 seconds, 45 seconds. Before on the other side of the door, you hear footsteps approaching, and Chels opens the door and just says, opens the door, sees you, and says, "Mr. Silverhammer," and holds it wide for you to enter.
Uh, Henry does a bow and says, "Lady Hart," and kind of holds up the box a little bit and comes inside.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess unless Charles indicates otherwise, goes to the breakfast nook where they
Yep,
usually
yep.
sit.
That's.
Um, I think he tries to make small talk and asks how things have been.
Uh, Ben is notoriously terrible at small talk.
So is
Chels is
Asher.
a fucking expert. Um,
I mean, Henry would also be very good at small talk.
yes.
Um,
So
so let's
small
not
talk
role play that.
ensues. Small talk ensues. Chels does not miss a beat. There is no, like, you do not feel, or I guess you can roll an insight check again.
I rolled 3 nat 20s before the session started. I have been rolling so terribly, except for
Yeah,
that one
you
nat 20.
you wasted your rolls.
Um, 8.
I forgot that I have to roll this dice in a specific way on my dice tower. Um, yeah. You are not able. There's no anger. There's no joy. There's no, like, you aren't able to pick up any emotions from her. She is just being the epitome of pleasant, and carrying conversation uh, as effortlessly as anyone ever could.
Um, okay, I forgot to say this before Henry left, but I have been thinking about it for the weeks in real time that this that Henry's been planning to go there. Henry wanted to bring his knitting, just like a small little thing of knitting to do while they talk because she had also mentioned crafts and he is nervous. It'll help him feel calm and also might be like a bonding thing
Okay,
potentially. So is that okay if he just has it on him?
that is fine.
Okay. Um,
Given Henry's assortment of pockets, not I would not argue against him always having his knitting on him.
okay. Okay, so Henry puts the pastry box on the table and opens it and looks around for Trent.
You do not, or I mean, I guess you can make a perception check.
It's an 8.
You do not see him.
whenever there's like a normal break in the conversation, Henry says, "Is Trent around or Lord Hart around?"
Um, uh, Chels simply replies, "He's out on some errands. He should be back soon."
Okay. It just I know he likes the pastries. Um,
She does not mask at all the way she rolls her eyes at that.
Henry laughs. Um, and I think he asks her about her embroidery and other crafts that she mentioned she does, while taking out his knitting.
um, uh, I will. She's the type of person to do this. There are actually some. I don't. I don't know the technical words for it, but like embroidery up on the walls, um, like framed. Is it framed? Would you frame that? I don't know.
Like a
Um,
tapestry?
Not quite. It's smaller scale than that. There is actually a big tapestry.
You do and can hang embroidery in frames and stuff like that.
Excellent. You learn something new every day. There is a tapestry that is in their like entry room that is a very wide, sprawling tapestry of a holding in what in lands that you have well that Henry actually has seen before. It looks very much like the more grassland area of Faerun.
Mm.
Um,
Um, there's a tapestry or there's like the framed
there's a
embroidery.
tapestry that's in the entryway. You have no idea if Chels did that herself, but it's in the entryway. And I will say, along with the small talk that Henry casually plays off very often when coming here, you know that this is a tapestry of the holding that their family is from, um, and it's beautiful gray stone. Few There's three tall towers and a small or with a small curtain walled keep, and then a lush grassland area in the foreground and to either side of the keep. Um, that being said, uh, she will point out some embroidery that she has hung in the little like dining breakfast nook that y'all are in. Um, there is actually one that is a small scale but somewhat passable portrait of Count Ander. Um, I don't know how precise you can get with this, but it does not look
Pretty
shabby in
precise.
any way. It's pretty good.
Mm.
Um, uh, there is two very small, equal-sized, but they're black and white, like the frame, like the not negative, the like portraits that's just the black outline that face each other. That if you look close enough, even though they are rather small, you get the impression that it is Trent and Shells themselves.
That's cute.
Um, and there's a few other things that are just more artsy, like a vase of flowers, that kind of things, just hung in this area. And she references that she has a few more throughout the house as well.
Um, Henry says, this is a social visit. Um, but and that's what I planned this for, but also there is some business that I would like to discuss if that's all right.
By all means.
Um, as you probably know, we are our group, the Brunch Bunch, whatever we're called. Um, we have been assigned to Captain Dawn to look into the group that tried to save Vist from his execution. And we are, while we're looking into that, one of the leads that we wanted to follow is finding out more about Vist himself to see if there's anything like, if we find out more about him, is there anything in his past, in his life, that could be used to find out who they are. And the only people that we know of that might know that would be you and your brother. Um, so we have read the report from Captain Ryan, but um, if there's anything that you could tell me that might not have been in the report, um, I wouldn't say where I got any additional information from, but I just wanted to ask.
Um, you are not trying to lie with any of that, correct?
Correct.
All right. Um, and will you roll a persuasion check for me, please?
Why can I not roll well? It's an 8.
Okay.
Can I re-roll that using my inspiration?
Yeah, absolutely.
18 plus 6 is a
24.
24. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Uh, she smiles easily at you as you speak, and kind of gets a little knowing expression on her face. And she says, "Well, um, we do know a fair bit of Vist. Um, a deal was made, uh, and if you are looking into him, I assume you know of the organization, the Light Hands.
Yes.
What do you know of that organization?"
Uh, I think Henry is going to kind of blink slowly, um, and like be obviously trying to think and put kind of words together, like his thoughts together, um, because it is early morning and he's a sleepy boy. Um, Henry's gonna say, it seems that they are a group for hire to those that might not have power, um, or access to other means of power, and being able to pay for services that might not be the most legal in nature. And it seems that this group has a lot of resources and reach to be able to accomplish these things. It seems that they have a breadth from pretty personal, small tasks, but also maybe some more complicated and more difficult tasks. Um, and we know at least one place where they have a base of operations for such customers to approach. Um, few other details, but I think that's the main main bit.
Are you familiar with the concept of a jailman?
I am not.
From time to time, there are persons willing to do the jail time for crimes they have not committed.
Henry gives like a knowing nod while she says that, like a,
Oh.
oh.
Typically, these are voluntary positions. I don't know why I said voluntary so oddly. But Vist was kind of on the outs in the Light Hands organization. I know that you met him. He was a bit cocky when he had no power with which to be cocky. And he had rubbed some other members of the Light Hands the wrong way. We went to them for someone to, as you know, hold over, pull attention for the library break-in. First, we went to Vist himself, as he claimed leadership. Uh, he didn't exactly rub me the right way.
I think
And
Henry nods, like, yeah.
and so when another member approached us on our way out, suggesting Vist himself, our plan was laid. But one of the contingencies of that or one of the line items of that plan, of that deal, was that Vist was not to come to harm. Uh, Whatever we did to capture him, we needed to ensure that he was not injured, and we were also supposed to ensure that he was not injured while imprisoned. As you well know, we were not able to uphold that part of the deal. Also, you mentioned them having quite a bit of resources. That was not always the case prior to our dealing with them. Uh, they will no longer deal with us, which, to be honest, the way things went, can't blame them much. Does that answer your questions?
Um, I think Henry's affected. He's emotionally affected by that. Like, he is, I think, a little shocked, like, obviously shocked. And it takes a second. Um, and says, so it would not be far-fetched to assume that when Vist was to be executed, though he was not supposed to be harmed, that the Light Hands would have tried to intervene to save him, no matter how cocky he was.
It could, not a long stretch.
Yeah. I think Henry looks her in the eyes and says, "Thank you for sharing that with me. Um, um, to what degree can I disclose that information to others? Specifically, Call, Ren, and then eventually Captain Dawn. What am I allowed to share?"
I'm under no illusion that Captain Dawn does not know, at the very least, everything that Call knows.
Henry keeps a straight face.
Um, Henry, I don't want to threaten you, so I would ask that you don't take this as a threat. But
Henry nods with a very open face. Like, yeah, yeah.
if Trent and I were to go down, as they say, we would not go down alone.
Uh, Henry nods. That is absolutely fair. I knew what I was getting into when I was open with you in the past, though I'm sure you know other things than what I was specifically open about. Um,
Understand, I do not mean that you cannot use the information I have given you. I would just suggest that it doesn't find its way back to me. Um, at that, as she says that, you notice a pair of boots prop up on the table next to you, and
uh,
Trent is in a chair, leaned back onto two legs with his feet on the table.
um, Henry had been stealing himself because he was sure that that was going to happen, that Trent was just going to appear, and it's happened enough that I'm gonna say, you can overrule me, that Henry doesn't jump or act surprised, even though he is surprised. Kind of like if you have an
Hmm.
older sibling who's always coming to tickle you, like you steal yourself, you're
Hmm.
always stealed. That's how Henry is with Trent now. Um, and Henry just looks over at him and uh, says, "Good morning."
He takes a bite from the cinnamon pastry that he is holding.
Um, uh, I think Henry's gonna ask, uh, kind of looking at Trent, but then also kind of like glancing at Chels. Um, um, is there anywhere in the city that makes those as good as back home?
Remind me as a DM because I'm a forgetful fuck. Did you learn specifically that those were from the area?
Yeah, yeah. I rolled really well, and I said Henry has been making a note of all the pastries that they like,
Hmm.
and that cross-referencing that with their origin to know
Right, right.
where to like verify, are they actually from Faerun or are they actually from somewhere else? And you
Correct.
said
Correct.
that Trent always goes for these that are
Yes, they
Faerunian.
are well known in Faerun. Yes. Uh, Trent fully finishes chewing.
Mhm.
Um, hmm, I just realized that I broke a bit of continuity there. You did not see him take a bite. That's not something you've ever seen him do. Um,
What?
you've never seen him actually taking a bite. Whenever bites are taken from whatever he is eating, you are always looking away. Um, I'm sorry. I thought I had said that before. Um,
Oh
I
yeah,
was
because we were speculating like, does he not have a tongue? Is
yeah.
there some spell on his mouth?
Uh, you have never seen the inside of this man's mouth. Um, I will say you see him chew, but you never see him take a bite.
Does he chew with his mouth closed always?
No, he chews with his mouth. Of course, he chews with his mouth closed. It just said you've never seen the inside of his mouth. um, uh, but he finishes chewing, kind of staring you down the whole time, and then like as he swallows, he looks over at Chels, uh, and she giggles a little bit, and then says, uh, "The elves are very good at fanciful little matterless nothings." That being, and then rolls her eyes a little bit, and says, "But you have done a good job with," and she kind of just nods to the box.
Hmm. Um, Let me look at Call's questions to see if there's anything else that I need to ask. Um, I think Henry says to Trent, I am not sure how much you heard, though I'm sure you were here much longer than I saw you. Um, but I was asking uh your sister about Vist as part of my group's investigation. Um, and I am going to keep all of this information, uh, well, I'm going to keep most of the information to myself, though I am going to give some of it as part of the investigation, without disclosing the source. But I wanted to ask, um, if you're willing to share. Um, Henry doesn't take this long to pause. I'm trying to figure out how to say it. Um, when the deal was made, was Vist aware of it at all? Or when he was caught, was he caught actually doing something wrong, even though it wasn't what he was accused of?
Uh, Trent just kind of nods at Chels just to put your
Mhm.
attention to her. And she says, um, we arranged with the organization. Uh, they would make sure he was at the warehouse. We would make sure that Trent was there to catch him.
Um, since this organization is of no use to y'all, would it bother you if they were shut down or if their resources were seized? Like, if I proceed and we end up charging them with something that sticks, is that going to be an issue?
Um, she is going to say, I would not expect you to not do your duty.
I'm gonna make a roll real quick. Okay, Henry's blushing. Um, just like, he's always blushing, he's always red and flushed, but he's a little bit redder. Um, and Henry just nods. That was I rolled a 2. If we're adding deception, that's a 5. Don't know if that matters.
Um, I mean, it would probably matter if their insight wasn't fucking crazy. They rolled a 3 and a 1, but they get a couple more than 2 added to their rolls.
Well, this is a 3 plus because it's my charisma, but yeah. Um,
They notice.
do I have to tell you any insight, or is it not high enough that you think I have to tell you any insight?
Just just the expression on your face. Like you don't have to like give everything that he's thinking, but just what would be given away with his expression.
Um, I think he looks, a little kind of so when she says that he looks soft, like his expression softens. And then he looks a little embarrassed at his expression softening. And that's what
Okay.
they would see on his face.
Okay.
Um, okay. Um, uh, Henry nods and then turns the conversation back to social stuff. So
Okay.
just kind of asking about, um, he's very careful to not ask about anything that would be like, how are your plans going? Or
Mm-hmm.
what are you up to? But like, just kind of asking casually and cordially about what they've been up to and if they've seen the sports game, kind of small talk. I know sports isn't really a thing here
Yeah,
probably,
not
but like that
not
kind of
professional.
talk. Yeah, but like that kind of talk
Yeah,
of like
I get you.
general stuff.
Here's what I'm gonna ask for then. Um, do you have more like actual content role play you want to do with them?
Mm.
Okay. Roll me just a raw charisma check.
17.
What's your modifier?
3. I
Okay.
rolled a 14.
Uh, I, hmm. Okay. Fuck. Uh, y'all tied. but her modifier is actually higher, so like she wins the roll off. Um,
Why are we rolling off if it's small talk?
big no reason. Um, don't worry about it. Uh,
I do also want to roll insight for like towards the end of the conversation to get kind of a gauge of how,
absolutely. Yep. Go ahead.
yeah,
You want to gauge how the day went or how the
yeah.
meeting went?
Mm-hmm. Insight, proficiency, uh, math, 13.
13. Okay.
Wait, no, 9 plus 5, 14.
Okay.
You have a chemical engineering degree.
It's I like the honestly it's not the mental math that's the worst part. It's the on my dice, the 9 and the 6 are so similar, and I know that like it's the same font, like it's the same thing, like they didn't change it at all. And so my mind is always like it's a 9, it's a 6, it's a 9, it's a 6, and then my brain mixes the two and I can't process it.
That is bad font choice.
Mm. hmm
That's bad.
Yeah. Like you make them slightly different. That's a rule. I feel like that's but also if you're making dice, I know it's hard to make molds and stuff. So no hate on the creator, but
I mean, unless the creator made the molds, no hate on the creator, but also pick a fucking different font.
Um, as far as how you think the uh this meeting went, um, I mean it goes rather pleasantly. There you hmm, the mental gymnastics of trying to determine how people that are good at things do stuff. Um, oh gosh. There's certainly no anger coming from her. She remains pleasant the whole time. She does not go deeply into anything personal, but that's she doesn't do that anyway. Um, you upon leaving, you do not feel like anything has gone worse than it was. But it's kind of like the nothing seems to have gone wrong, but you don't know how much went right.
okay. All right. So I think Henry gets out of there and um trying to decide how sappy he's gonna be. I think he after kind of making motions like he's gonna get up and leave, he says he says um I I had a I Henry does not stutter. I am stuttering. Um uh I really enjoyed meeting with you as always. Um and says thank you. Uh, okay. Since I can't come up with the words, he wants to say that he enjoyed the time. Is a little bit sappy about it, but nothing like not emotional. There's no emotion in his voice besides just like
Mm-hmm.
genuineness. Um, and um, wants to convey that he wants to keep being friends. Is
Um,
his intent.
she smiles along as you say that. um, and gives a um, polite curtsy, but no deeper than what is necessary for your station, which is not a whole lot. Um, and
He knows
what?
that she knows of.
Um,
Just kidding.
and she smiles, nods with her curtsy, and says, "It's always a pleasure to have you, Henry," and then allows you to exit.
Henry leaves and goes immediately back to his room.
Okay. Um, by the hour that you would have gone there, and the time and the two spaces of we do small talk, um, um, it's I'd say it's after 10, but not quite 11. So somewhere in the 10:30 range. Um,
Henry goes and flings himself on his bed and buries his face in his pillow.
okay.
We can cut to someone else now.
Uh, anybody have anything they wanted to do in the morning, or are we going to jump to the meeting at lunchtime?
Jump.
Or does Ren want to talk to the ring?
Briefly. He'll
Okay.
just check on it really quick.
Say anything, or just put it on and listen.
Just the usual hello.
Um, you hear nothing for a while, um, and then so softly that you don't really notice it as it's being said, which is a very odd sensation for words that are appearing in your mind and you're not hearing them. But it is just the emotion of the words are conveyed so softly that you remember it happen. You remember that it happened rather than hear it as it happens. But you do hear it say, um, just "I'm sorry."
Are you okay?
Someone isn't.
They said someone isn't?
Correct.
I am so sorry this happened to you. I want to help however I can. I'm I'm trying to find a way to help. If you know anything that I can do, please let me know.
If there is someone and there is me, are we both I?
I don't think I can answer that for you. Do you want to try and find out?
I don't know.
Okay. That's not something you have to decide right now. Um, there's something I wanted to ask you. Um, can you ever see through my eyes, or how do you experience this when we talk?
Um, uh, so you feel a range of emotions that starts with the tail end of sadness, but then it just goes through like all sorts of just different emotions, like goes happy, confused, angry. um it kind of like runs through a cycle of just like the basic emotions, um and then says, as for you, so for me.
Okay. Um, I'm going to go about my day. Do you want to come with me?
I will tell you if I need to be alone.
Okay. Okay, Ren is going to wear the ring today.
All right.
Um, does he know that he can turn it invisible with an action?
Yes, I think so.
He'll turn it invisible.
Okay.
So, okay, let's go to lunch.
All right. Y'all go to lunch.
We go to lunch. Um,
We go to the Happy Mug, right?
so
It's
have we
really
like met up and stuff, like at the
uh,
courtyard or whatever?
y'all all planned to get lunch, so I will say that you all planned where to get lunch. So just wherever y'all end up.
When Ren sees Call, he's going to approach, have a little trouble making eye contact, but is going to be a big boy about it. Kind of awkwardly reach out and kind of like projecting movement, like kind of pat their arm, like sort of carefully going in like he wants a hug.
Um, Call is looking a little nervous when Ren approaches and kind of cautiously leans in. Like they're not raising their arms because they're not sure what Ren's going for right now,
Okay, yeah, Ren just
but
hugs
they do
him real
kind of
tight.
lean a little bit. Aww.
Once it's accepted, Ren just goes for it, just hug. And he says, I'm sorry. I was a hypocrite and an ass.
Uh, hold on. So, call rolled low, so it takes them a hot second to process what's happening. But unless Ren decides to pull back very quickly, call will reciprocate the hug. But it takes a hot fucking second for call to stop blue screening. Um, because motherfucker rolled a 4. um, and call's going to just respond with, "I'm sorry too. I'm glad you're okay."
Ren nods for a second, um, looks kind of uncomfortable, but in kind of a weird, indiscernible sort of way, and kind of pats Call's arm as he pulls back, and we're gonna do lunch now. So,
Call's gonna look at Henry real quick. I think Call's gonna snort and then follow Ren into the restaurant.
Ren has 18 charisma, guys. We're not seeing it.
Okay.
I love him.
I just love all of our characters so much, so much.
We have good beans. We have good babies.
All right.
We have really stupid characters.
We have really stupid characters.
So,
Oh
what
gosh.
do y'all talk about at lunch?
Normal people things.
Normal people things.
They deserve a break, honestly.
Yeah.
I think everyone's kind of subconsciously agreeing to like make it a brain break. So Call is probably going to start talking about all of the whining that Jax is getting up to in the barracks and how weird it is to have Jax is complaining and a largely empty room. So unless other people start chiming in on the conversation, Call's pretty much just going to start talking about roommates.
Ren has brought Pierre, who is still a weasel as far as I know.
A
And,
baby?
A baby.
A
At
baby.
the restaurant. So,
Okay. Just real quick. Are y'all like out to a restaurant, eating in the university area where there's kind of fancier places to eat, or eating in one of the messes?
probably one of the former two.
I would say the university, maybe at like a not super fancy, but like good food.
Okay.
Good food.
At the university, they're super fucking used to familiars and say nothing about Pierre. If y'all went out to a restaurant and had a fucking weasel on the table, somebody was gonna say something.
Yeah, Ren wouldn't care. I was prepared for that.
And chill touch.
Hush now.
Mine spike.
Aye. So there's that. Um,
Henry talks about happy things. Lots of joyful things. What? I don't know.
Ren listens mostly. He's also gonna keep an eye on an eye. He's gonna maintain some kind of connection or whatever with the ring and see how it's doing.
Okay, by maintaining a connection, are you like feeding it your sensory information? Or
Well,
just
maybe a little.
okay.
Yeah, I think maybe a little. Like, the good parts of the day, like how good food tastes and how cute this little weasel is and how it is, like how nice it is to be with friends and stuff. He's trying to like project that to the ring right now.
Okay. The ring for the most part remains silent. You don't even the even the ambient noises do not come up. But it just remains silent. Okay. So unless there's something I want to talk about at lunch, where do you go after?
Henry says, so I think there's something we should talk about, maybe in your room, and looks at Ren. Or mine, because Patch isn't there.
We can go to my room. That's
Okay.
fine. We're already at the university.
Okay. Go to Ren's.
Alrighty, so unless something happens,
we're
Go
there.
to Ren's room.
I mean, y'all can give me a perception check on the way through.
Happily.
21.
26.
16.
To find it.
I need to decide what I'm gonna say because I can't tell them everything.
No. I have to find the correct dice to use in this situation.
What about your purple metal ones?
Uh,
Oh.
I didn't have those up on the table. They could have served, but you said 26 perception. I have to find a thing and do some stuff.
That's how I talk to myself every day.
You said 26 or 27?
26. I should have lied to you just then and said 27.
Hey, either way, even with advantage, you did beat what I was rolling. So you do notice, all of you. Sorry, what did Ren get?
16.
And remind me what Henry got as well.
21.
Right. Okay. You all rolled rather well. So you do notice Great Servant Rawl once again. I'm gonna say that y'all walk down a hallway and like pass him in the hallway. And you see him muttering to himself. He comes close enough that y'all even hear him muttering, and it sounds once again like praise of a greater being. However, Call, you notice that as the three of you approach him, he makes enough space between y'all for there to be another person next to him that's between the three of you and him.
Call is 100% noticing that. And I think Call is going to like kind of swing their arm a little wide as they walk to see if they brush up against anything.
Make a sleight of hand check.
Will do. Damn. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and use my. You said we all got inspiration, right?
You all had
I'm
it?
gonna go ahead and use mine too.
All right, go for it.
Because that was a low roll. Not much better. 15.
Okay, and then I have to decide what.
What the DC is?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. What would that? I guess that. Oh wow. Okay. You reach out, and your hand brushes against clothing.
I think Call's immediate reaction is to pretend that they didn't notice shit.
Give me a stealth check.
Not deception?
No, yes, you're right. Deception is absolutely with that.
That was a nat 20.
Alrighty. Okay.
Naps for Call.
Ooh, I need to roll for someone else. But I don't know what to use.
Someone else, huh? The invisible person?
Well, I mean, the invisible person. I need. This roll is actually for Great Servant Rawl. If you must know. Oh no, the metal dice don't fit in the tower.
Oh no!
All right, we're just gonna roll it like a plebe into the tray. Yeah. Uh, you continue. Great Servant Rawl certainly doesn't seem to notice. The other person being invisible, you have no idea. But you are
Well,
confident in your like. You do feel confident in how you hid your realization.
excellent. Well, and in fairness, if the other person had found out, then Rawl probably would have at least noticed that they had seemed concerned. So if Rawl didn't react at all, it's fairly safe to assume that the other person didn't notice either. So, at least that's what Call's going with. So, Call's gonna keep their trap shut until we get to Ren's room. Um, and assuming nothing else happens, the moment the door shuts, Call is just gonna whip around and be like, Rawl's talking to an actual physical person.
What?
Ren looks very startled and then really, like, despite himself, very curious, but knowing that he shouldn't be and sort of uncomfortable about it.
Why is
So
he uncomfortable about it? um, Call doesn't know why Ren seems uncomfortable, and is gonna kind of honestly probably ignore it because right now they're too excited to be like, "Hey, what's up? Are you okay? Why do you not want to know this?" So Call's just gonna go ahead and go with it and be like, "Okay, so like when we were walking down the hall, and we passed him. He created like a pretty wide berth in between us. Like there was enough room in between us for like another person to walk through. So I kind of swung my hand a little wide when we were walking past, and I absolutely brushed fabric."
I think Henry asks, like, what kind of fabric? Like
You know,
linen?
I very specifically wanted to ask that, but then Ben was asking other things and I didn't get to it, so I don't actually know how to answer this.
And it was an at 20.
What is Nat 20 deception?
Oh, you're right. Sorry.
Uh,
Yeah,
it was. Fuck. I'm sending this. I'm DMing this.
Yeah, you're DMing the whole game, babe.
I love walking to Ren's room. It's always so much fun.
It is. So many interesting people.
Maybe someday I'll learn how to fucking spell monastery.
Monastery, huh? Hmm.
I'm so bad at keeping secrets.
You are.
We love
We
you
love
for
you.
it, though.
All right. Um, so Call's gonna go ahead and say that Call's gonna be like, okay, they felt like honestly, they felt like monastic robes. Like I don't know what to tell you. They were kind of thick, just like a little bit on the coarse side, and that really simple drape, like it honestly it kind of felt like monastic robes.
Um, wh- do we? Asher's asking this. Would there be people around that would wear that against Storgard?
No. uh, there are um, I just fucking realized there's probably not many monks in the cores, at least. Not that there are no monks in Storgard, like monk class. But the like, I'm not quite sure that they would go to the core of blades, and they don't really have the healing abilities that the core of light. It's not that it's impossible for a monk to heal, but the core of light is much more heal centric. So there's not really they don't really go there either, and it's not a magical centric class. So monks as a class in D&D rather rare in Storgard, and there is no monastery close by.
And it goes, interesting. What are they doing here?
I'm more interested in one, is that person always walking with Great Servant Rawl? Is Great Servant Rawl actually just talking to somebody who's wandering around next to him? If so, who the fuck is it? Why are they invisible? And is that permanent? Because that's gotta be honestly kind of frustrating. Um, like, is this an open secret? Do you think that there are people who know? Like, is this something that Zerka would know or anyone else? Like, I feel like Barnabas would have to know, wouldn't he?
Insight check on Red. As a friend. Like, concerned insight check.
As a friend,
Uh,
I want to know everything that's going on in your head right now.
17. Rolls deception. It's fine.
All the time, always.
Ren is to fine as Bruce Banner is to angry.
Nerd.
Ren uses his inspiration on this roll.
There's a lot going on in Ren's head, and he is not making any of it clear. So, uh, he's gonna figure out how to phrase this, and Great Servant Rawl is the head of the Warlock School here at the university, and it is impolite to ask a Warlock about their patron, so I have not looked into the matter. I'm positive that Barnabas knows, but as far as me and where I'm at, it is not my business. But now I am extremely curious.
Call's gonna nod a little bit, like they're half conceding the point, and is then gonna say, "Okay, but do you think that's actually his patron? Like physically wandering next to him invisible? I would have assumed that that was entirely unrelated from the existence of his patron."
Also a good point. I am not sure. Um, I don't really know much about warlocks, to be honest. But
If you would like to make an Arcana check.
sure.
I would also like to make an Arcana check.
Let's all do it.
Yeah, that is a 23.
Woo!
19.
Okay.
Also 19.
Okay. So 23 and a couple 19s. It's pretty.
My
It's
Nandel dice is doing well.
pretty.
It's so good.
It's so
Um,
good.
so, what you know of warlocks. Patrons vary wildly. From ethereal beings with kind of like all-seeing cosmic power, akin to deities, all the way down to some warlocks. Their patron can be something as quote unquote small as, say, a lich or another powerful being that still exists within this plane. Um,
Okay.
you you do not know what Great Servant Rawl's patron is. As previously established, that kind of thing is not kept on record here, and it is not common knowledge, unless the warlock themselves chooses to make it so. Great Servant Rawl has not.
Well,
Um,
yeah.
that being said, it's not impossible for Great Servant Rawl to have a patron that could take on a material form that was invisible walking next to him. However, kind of the more powerful patrons tend to be able to send messages and instruction to their warlocks directly into their head. Great Servant Rawl being the both head of conjuration at the school as well as head of warlocks themselves, one would assume probably has a rather powerful patron or some other way of gaining power other than their patron. And considering he calls himself Great Servant, kind of thinks he probably isn't getting his power from somewhere else. Um, all of that to say, with a 23, you would assume that it'd be odd for Great Servant Rawl's patron to be in a material, humanoid-sized form, invisibly walking around the halls of the university with him.
Yeah. So yeah, Ren's gonna relay that and, happy to share his arcade knowledge and stuff. And he's not sure what conclusions to draw from this. But now he is way too curious despite himself. He feels rude for being curious. That's his only issue here. Um
Call's enough of an ass that Call doesn't feel rude about it.
Oh, Ren doesn't blame anyone else. It's only him who's an ass. But
Um, Call is super duper curious, and with that is going to kind of reiterate, okay, so if we don't actually think that that's his patron, Barnabas would still know, right? At least when they've interacted that there was another person around?
I have no doubts, I am certain.
Okay. Okay. So I get that it's rude for you to ask. But I don't know shit about shit when it comes to magic. Would I get in a lot of trouble for being like the rude person and asking? Would I get in trouble if I asked about that?
No, because you don't know that it's not polite.
Excellent.
So Red is here fully enabling this. Just be careful.
Excellent. All right, well then, whenever we've got a free moment, I want to talk to Master Barnabas.
Can I come too?
No.
Henry is visibly upset when Call says no.
Call's going to kind of step in and clarify. If Great Servant Rawl actually has been walking around with an invisible person around him this whole time, and assuming most people do not know, it probably is for the best that we at least maintain the visage of as few people finding out as possible. So, honestly, I feel like we're more likely to get a forthright answer if the question is coming from an individual rather than a group.
Even if the group is friends, best friends.
I know nothing about this. Ren is visibly invested, but like he is not allowed to be a part of this because Master Barnabas would be disappointed.
Dad would be disappointed in me. I can't
Dad.
know.
I already got in trouble. I got in trouble yesterday. So, yeah, basically, Master Barnabas likely would not approve of me, prying into other magic users' personal issues like this, but I don't know anything about this, and you know where to find Master Barnabas. That's the best he
Exactly.
can do.
Is Call now walking up the stairs to Barnabas' office?
I think Call's going to see if anyone has anything that they want. Call's gonna, like, not do this immediately. Call's gonna want to, like, think about how best to approach this in a way that's going to get them the best results. So I don't actually think that Call's going to rush headfirst into Barnabas's office.
Alright.
Because Call's curious, but crucially, Call's not that stupid.
Hey, Barney, guess what I heard?
So I touched an invisible man today.
Show me on the doll where you touched the man.
I'm sticking with how I phrased that. I'm not taking that back.
I respect it.
Oh no.
So, no. Call has a plan, but Call is also not rushing to Barnabas's office at the moment.
Okay.
Also, can Call, make an insight check to see if Henry is less offended?
Go for it.
Call's... Alright. That would be a 19.
Alright, you beat my deception check.
Why is Henry trying to hide the...
I have reasons.
Okay.
Um,
That's fair. That's totally fair.
Often when people try to do insight checks on Henry, I'm like, yeah, he's an open book. What can I say? But since you beat it, Henry doesn't look as upset as he did when Call just said no, because Henry was upset when Call said that. Now that it's been a few seconds and they've talked about it, Henry's kind of like reluctantly like, yeah, okay, you make a good point. But he's still like visibly disappointed and sulking a little bit.
Oh my god.
Since you rolled so much higher, I'm gonna say, it's less that Henry needs to know the secret and more he's upset about missing out on seeing Barnabas because Barnabas is fucking cool. And Henry just wants any excuse to see Master Barnabas.
I love that answer. That is a great answer, actually. Thank you.
Yeah. And that's why Henry wasn't like, okay, well, as long as you tell me what he said. Because, I mean, he's curious about this secret. This is very interesting. But also, like, he's he's somewhere between Call and Ren where, like, he is curious, but also it's kind of rude and not his business. But it is really interesting. Um, but yeah, he's, oh, Barnabas is cool. I want to come.
Sadly, I highly doubt that Master Barnabas would actually tell you anything if he does know it. But if you
I
want to
know.
try.
I know. I doubt that I'm going to get the information, but I wonder if I play my cards right if I'm going to learn something anyway. Anyway, Henry, what did you want to talk about?
Uh, okay, so Henry kind of shakes himself and looks just a lot of emotions on his face. A little bit bashful, thinking about things, conflicted, um, and then says, "So as you both know, I went to see the Hearts this morning, um, and I have some answers." And then he stops, like I'm stopping, and says, I have confirmation that Vist was a member of the Light Hands and that there was a deal for him to take the fall for something to, as the heart said to us earlier, that he was going to take the fall to distract from the library situation, but he was not supposed to be harmed. And so it is highly, highly likely that the people that intervened were members of the Light Hands trying to save their member who was not supposed to be harmed, let alone executed. So I think that if we were to if we continue to pursue the Light Hands, I think that we're in the right looking in the right direction.
Okay, I have a couple of follow-up questions. So, why did the Light Hands agree to have Vist be their fall man?
Um, okay, Asher asking, do y'all remember if Henry talked about Vist's personality at all?
I think he did. That Vist was uncooperative. Um,
Abrasive.
I don't remember exactly if Henry did, but it was brought up more than once by different sources that Vist was acting very abrasive and like not helping himself in in his situation.
Okay.
Circa definitely told us that.
Yes.
Um, well, as we know, the Light Hands um, offer services, and it seems that this would be one of those services. And I think Vist was chosen because of the difficulty that he was putting on the organization due to his attitude, his general attitude. But despite that attitude, the Light Hands didn't want one of their own to be murdered for something that they did not do.
If He was intended as a fall man based on hiring. Um, is and Call's gonna kind of shake their head and be like, okay, never mind, I'll come back to that later. Um, assumption is that it was definitely members of the Light Hands that interrupted the execution because the deal had gone sour. Um, given who you spoke to, I assume that the deal was made by the Hearts. Um, to put the investigation for the library break-in at rest. Um, which I have my own questions about why they were so determined to have that happen. Um, and how they found out about the Light Hands in the first place. Um, if it's all a result of the deal gone sour, we're kind of in an impossible position at the moment. Because if the Hearts made that deal, then there's no way to confirm that that deal exists without implicating the Hearts. And implicating the Hearts in a situation like that is a politically perilous decision and will ultimately get us in trouble or nowhere.
Also,
So,
and on top of the political ramifications, um, I am linked to them as well. And if they are implicated in this, I think I would find myself implicated in other things.
do you think that would actually come to light?
Henry nods.
Well, Henry, it it looks like you're kind of the linchpin in this situation. You are the person with the most information, and you're the person the information affects. I think I want to hear your perspective on how you think we should move forward. And what we should tell Zerka.
Henry nods and says, I think this is the type of situation where morality and what is right is a gray area. And I think that of all the soul searching and all of the goodness searching that I have done these past 2 months, I think the most surefire way is to do the least amount of harm. If we look at this, looking at this situation, I do not think that if our goal was to take down the Light Hands, let's say that that's what our goal was, I don't think that we would need proof of the Heart's deal in order to do that, because I think that since Vist was a member, that the deal, there would be no physical evidence of this deal, I would imagine, unless it's written in a black book somewhere. But I think the light hands could be taken down without that deal being a part of it, because they have done plenty of other illegal activities. I think that from what we have personally seen, the light hands are maybe a little in over their head with some of the things they are doing. It did not sound like they knew the severity of those ghosts that they set out. And that is very, very dangerous. That is a very, very dangerous power. And but at the same time, they were helping the renters and the tenants of that neighborhood, which I think is good. And I think that there is something to be said about providing access to power to the powerless. Because who else would help those renters with a landlord who doubled the rent in 6 months? So I think that we should do more investigation on the light hands to see what they're up to and what their intentions are. If their intentions is to grow their own wealth and grow their own power for selfish or nefarious means, I think we should bring them down. But if there's more at play there, I think we need to decide what our end goal is after we know more. And if we can leave the Hearts out of it, I would very much appreciate it. But I also know that I might have to face the consequences of my own actions, and I am prepared to do that if needed.
Well spoken. I think we need to consider what we can report to Zerka now. I don't think we can continue to put off giving her reports. And if we are going to be concealing information from her,
Henry interrupts because it calls in the middle of a sentence. Henry interrupts and says, I did not have very many things confirmed. I had a lot of speculative information given to me. And I gave you even more speculative information. So there's a lot of things that I don't know for certain. And when reporting to Zerka, to Captain Dawn, I don't think we need to tell her everything at this point since we don't know what we want to do. And once the information goes outside of us, then we have less control over it. So, of course, tell your captain everything that you think should be told, but also know that in the same way that a lot of the knowledge we had about the light hands is speculative, the knowledge that you gained here today is also speculative.
hang on. Okay, it's fine, it's fine. Motherfucker. Okay, I had the absolute shit scared out of me just now.
What happened?
I was hearing noises in the apartment, and I opened the door to the office and I didn't see anything. And I was still hearing noises against a door. And like legitimate noises like against a door. And I like wandered into the apartment cautiously, and it turns out that um, Oliver, my gray cat, who is very, very hard to see in the dark, was in the guest bathroom, pounding with his little body against the door that separates the guest bathroom from the office.
Little fucker.
So I was hearing like thumping of, someone trying to get in, and I thought it was coming from the body of the apartment, or at least, from the door to the office. I was not expecting it to be coming from the fucking door that separated the bathroom and the office. Basically, long story short, my cat scared the shit out of me. All right.
Doing his job.
Glad that you're safe.
Well, at least I knew that. At least, when I was like, oh god, I hear something. Like, I don't like that I was right, but, like, at least I am not having auditory hallucinations.
Yes, yes.
Shout out to me driving across Lubbock because a cup fell into a garbage disposal.
Oh my god. Yeah, I'm super paranoid. I'd called him over to my apartment multiple times because I was scared of noises out in the living room and I was alone. And so he would come over and save me from ambient noises.
Love that.
It's very cute.
Guys.
Yeah,
Also, it's
late.
11:20.
Yes.
It's late.
Are we leaving off in the middle of that, or was that the end of that conversation?
If we can do this briefly, Ren would like, for his own peace of mind, just to maybe peacelessness. Henry, how much do you feel you could be implicated for if something were to happen to the Hearts?
Hard because they don't speak in absolutes ever. But it seems like they might have overheard me speaking to you two at some point when we weren't with them. So that means that they would have knowledge of what I said outside of just like what was said in their house. So if that's true, then maybe somebody else has heard. If somebody else is a witness to anything that I've said, then I mean that's multiple people. And then if they called you two to testify against me, like I wouldn't expect either of you to lie. I wouldn't want you to lie. But if no one else heard, and I don't know. But I think that even if it was just speculation, I don't think the count would take lightly to even the whispers of what I spoke about. So,
Okay.
Henry closes his eyes and says, if it comes down to it, there are plenty of places that I can be besides this county.
I don't like that.
I don't either.
Well,
But
what's important to remember is that at the very least, you haven't acted on the sentiments that you had been struggling with. So you haven't done anything. And that's something. But yeah. Um, when Pierre was investigating the tavern, I did mention that there was someone who came in completely covered and sat with Miss Erin and was communicating something. They never spoke, but the figure handed her a bag of coins and made a gesture. She was very, very upset and left. I am more and more willing to believe that that was Trent. And I don't know how much of this Captain Zerka already knows. I feel like she always knows more than. I don't know. I get the feeling that I would never be presenting new information to her. She seems to know everything already. Um,
Paul, please correct me, but do we need to report every possible thought and every possible speculation to Captain Dawn at this time? Or do you think that if we report things that we know, things that we're going to be following up on, just kind of generally and show that we're making progress, would that be enough?
Only report what's necessary. Zerka wants to know that things are happening, but she has too much on her plate to waste time with needless reports. If we don't have anything concrete to offer her or very solid leads, it's not worth taking up that much of her time. But we should have something concrete. We should make a report, especially after what happened um with that landlord. And that was another mission that she assigned specifically to us. We definitely need to be able to respond to her. So,
I think it might be good if we end here and then we can all kind of think about like what we're going to report to Zerka until we play next time. Um, yep.
yep.
Alrighty. Uh, next time, next Friday, next Thursday. What's good?
Oh, I feel like I keep forgetting everything that's happening.
The fourth
Like
or the
just in
fifth?
life. I don't know. I think we're open.
Okay. Let's
Yeah.
say the fifth. If something comes up, we move it to the fourth, and if something else comes up, we reschedule. Um,
Okie dokie.
Alrighty then. I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream.